Hey everyone, this is Certified High Performance Coach Michelle Weimer here with you today, and I want to thank you for joining me. We are ready to begin today's conversation, and today we are talking about the first, um, the first agreement in Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements. And so this first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And I want to read you a quote from the book. He says, speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. And, if I were to ask you, are you a person of integrity who practices being positive and honest and truthful and loving? Do you stick to your promises? Do you hold to your word? My guess is you'd probably say yes, right? But here's the thing. We often are really good about being of integrity and keeping our word when it comes to interacting with others. But how often do you speak with integrity and stick to your word when it comes to what you say to yourself? And I think that this gets overlooked often, right? And the reason why these agreements, if you remember from last week, this is about a practical guide to living your best self, right? This is four simple concepts that we're going to be covering over the next several weeks that really helps you see like how simple it is. So let's talk about today if you were impeccable with your word, not just when you're interacting with others, because yes, of course, that is important. But my guess is most of you watching do that. If you tell someone you're going to do something for them, you keep your word and you do it. You follow through. If you are speaking or interacting with others, especially if you're someone in a leadership position, my hope is that you are, encouraging and honest and kind and truthful. But when it comes to how we talk to ourselves, wow, we don't always act that way. So think about this. If you were, if you were going to be of integrity with yourself, how might things be different? Right? I always say, if you talk to your friends like you talk to yourself, would you have any friends left? And it's a fair question to ask because so often our internal dialogue and the things we say to ourselves, wow, we can be really mean to ourselves. And so think about that for a second. Like, are you compassionate with how you speak to yourself? Are you loving? Are you committed to sticking with your word when you talk to yourself? So let's think about this. Instead of being critical when you are speaking to yourself, what if you spoke with compassion and love for yourself? What if you tried to speak positive words to yourself? What if you spoke encouraging words for yourself? How might that change you or change how you show up in the world? My guess is you'd probably be a whole lot more confident and courageous because think about it, we are usually our worst critic, our worst judge. And if you are being judgmental on yourself, which most of us tend to be, or hard on yourself, it can beat you down over a period of time. So if you shifted that and you started to practice being really impeccable with your word, really kind and compassionate and encouraging with how you spoke to yourself, think about that, how that would change your mindset. Think about how that would change the belief you have in yourself. And again, I dare say it would have you being more compassionate. It would have you being more courageous and more confident because of that shift in how you speak to yourself. So let's take another one, for example. What if you were more honest with yourself? How would that transform your life? So think about times when you say, for example, oh, I'm just really busy right now. I don't have time to do XYZ. Often, if you're, if you're going to be really honest with yourself, what you really mean is, I either A, I don't want to do it, or B, maybe I'm afraid to do it. So I'm going to make excuses or create reasons for why I can't do this thing right now, for why I'm so busy. But the truth of the matter is, and if we're being honest, we recognize like, oh wow, I'm not just, I'm just saying these things. Like I'm saying I'm busy. And if you're someone who is a victim of being busy all the time, or a victim of your own circumstances that you create for yourself, sometimes we create busyness so that we can avoid that thing that really matters, or that thing that we really ought to be doing. But if you shifted that and you started being really honest with yourself and said, hey, I want this to be a priority in my life. This thing is important to me. I'm willing to do what it takes. Yeah, I'm afraid, or yeah, I don't know how to do this or how to start, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to figure it out. I'm willing to take that leap. Just think of how that might change what it is you're doing. Think of how that might change the goals that you're striving for. So often we don't prioritize our own goals. We don't prioritize the things that are really important. Instead, we make excuses for why we can't do them, or we let any competing interests get in the way of doing those things. But that's not being honest with ourselves. So if you were more honest with yourself, how might that change your success rate? How might that change your ability to reach your goals? And speaking of, reaching your goals and your success, think about if you were impeccable with your word in terms of the words that you speak and the promises that you keep, right? So again, I mentioned earlier, you might tell a friend, oh yes, you need me to do that, I'm going to take care of that. I'll absolutely make sure that gets done. But how often do you promise to yourself over and over, tomorrow I'm going to start eating healthy, or tomorrow I'm going to start exercising, or tomorrow I'm going to make sure I get XYZ done? Like, again, we make these promises to ourselves, but we don't keep them. And when you don't keep the promises to yourself, when you don't stick to the commitments you make and the actions that you say you're going to follow through on, when you don't keep your word to yourself, think about what that does to you. So first and foremost, like internally, you feel really crappy about yourself. There's a lot of guilt and a lot of shame that comes with that, because deep down, you're not in integrity with the things that you're saying are important, with the things that you're saying you're going to do, because you're not following through. You're not doing them. So keeping your word to yourself, quite honestly, might be the most important person you can keep your word to. Because when you are being of integrity, when you are keeping your word, when you are speaking positivity and kindness and leading yourself in the right way, think about how that changes your life, how it changes not only you in terms of what you believe about yourself, but how it changes your success rate and how it changes how you show up for others. When we are not in integrity with our word to ourselves, we know that, and it doesn't feel good. So here's my challenge for you this week. I really want to challenge you to be impeccable with your word. Only say something if you believe it's truth. So that's the first one. Only say things that you believe are truth. So again, not just when you're having conversation with somebody else, but check yourself when you're saying things in your head like, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot, right? Is that truth? Do you really believe that about yourself? If you do, we have other work to do, and I am happy to help you with that. Feel free to send me a message. But check yourself. My guess is you don't really believe you're an idiot. You're just maybe mad at yourself because you made a mistake, or you didn't do something quite like you wanted to do it. Or maybe you just don't know it yet, and you got to believe in your ability to learn things and figure things out. So only say something if you believe that it's truth. The next one, only speak words that are positive. So this kind of goes with that, you're such an idiot stuff, but only speak words that are positive. Speak words that are loving, and speak words that are productive. Whether you're talking to someone else, if you're in a leadership position and you're like, you have to speak to an employee or some other people that you might be leading about how they can improve, you can do it in a positive way that encourages and inspires them to want to do better. Do that same thing for yourself, right? Encourage yourself, like, you got this, you can do this, come on, just get focused. those words are so much more powerful and so much more productive than speaking negativity and speaking harsh words to yourself. So only speak positive, loving, productive words. And then the last one I want you to really think about is only commit or promise something if you are truly willing to follow through. This is about making those commitments, sticking with them. This is about the promises that you make to yourself and to others and sticking with them. If you say, tomorrow I am starting, tomorrow I'm going to start eating healthy, tomorrow I'm going to start exercising, tomorrow I'm going to make sure I prioritize the needle movers in my business that are going to move me forward, then stick to that commitment. Sit down and make sure you have a plan today for whatever it is you're willing to commit to, and follow through with it. Stick to it, follow through with it. Stick to your promises, and you're going to be amazed at how much that changes not only you and how you feel about yourself, but truly your progress and your ability to reach your goals. So remember this: whenever you're speaking to anyone else, anyone you're interacting with, but mostly when you're speaking with yourself, be impeccable with your word. Thank you for joining me, and until next week, this is Certified High Performance Coach Michelle Weimer. Bye for now.